How's it going, everybody? This is Rob Novakast back with another video, or at least a quick review, and we'll be talking about, or at least following up to our previous review, that being The Exorcist. I figured we go over a couple of the other movies involving The Exorcist, I guess if anything, franchise. Going to our next one being The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which was released in 1977, and it was directed by John Boorman and Rospo Pallenberg. Hopefully I said that correctly. It was written by William Goodhart, William Peter Blatty, based on the character, and it was based on the characters by Rospo Pallenberg, which I believe was the writer, starring individuals like Richard Burton, Linda Blair, Lucy Fletcher, and many others. This one was different compared to the previous film, whereas when it came down to, I guess, if anything, story, as well as what they put into the story or the movie itself, this was an oddball compared to this one, as well as compared to the film that comes after this, which I want to try my best not to talk about that film yet till we actually get to it. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, starting off with story. I'm not going to lie, when it came down to, I guess, story-wise, this one was, again, story itself is kind of an oddball. It's, I guess, to kind of set the scale, it starts several years after the events of The Exorcist 1. We have Linda Blair's character, Regan, now attending I guess sessions with a therapist who is also using a device that kind of sees into their mind. And we are also introduced to a character by the name of Father Philip Lamont, who is basically trying to see or recognize if there's anything else that needs to be dealt with in this situation. Though, to a degree, he has to go through this journey to uncover what the demon that possessed Regan in the first film actually is, and was it, well, I guess, if anything, what's its goal. And to an extent, again, it's especially with, finding out certain things that honestly are confusing to a degree. Like, for instance, again, Regan still having this, I guess, if anything, like, ever since the possession or the transfer of the possession, you have Regan apparently still having this connection with the demon, and possibly Father Merrin, who keeled over from a heart attack in the first film. Spoilers, by the way. But all in all, just the fact that, especially with this demon, it's given an identity as well, and a really weird one at that. But also kind of going into detail of what, I guess, understanding of what its goals or motives are, which I kind of don't like to a certain degree, especially with, again, with it being a demon. Like, usually a way that demon is portrayed is a creature or something that is non-human, that basically has no real intent, only to cause misery. And to kind of give this demon motives was just weird. I know I keep using that word a lot, but it kind of describes a lot of the stuff that goes on in this film. Now, I will say, though, that with everything, I have one big gripe, and I think it's kind of sad, especially with this being a sequel. And honestly, if I were to give my own opinion about the story, it would have been nice if this was a separate case, and having no connection to the first movie. with this not only being a connection to the first movie, but as well as, finding out that it's the same demon involving or being involved in this, it just feels like everything that they done or everything that they went through to stop this thing was for nothing. Just completely and utterly for nothing. And to top it off, after the whole situation, there is another aspect that doesn't make any sense involving the quote-unquote possession that, again, I don't want to go into too much, but I will say involves Father Merrin. So I guess if anything, that's the thing that really kind of bugs me about this particular movie. Again, there's some cool aspects, some really weird stuff, especially when it comes to giving the demon a purpose. And to top it off, the story itself kind of feels, again, just like everything they did from the first film was jack fucking shit. But either way, that's the story for you. Not gonna lie, and by the way, this is just in my case, I kind of felt that the only characters that were somewhat interesting in this entire film were more so Linda Blair's Regan and Richard Burton's Father Philip Lamont. And hopefully I said that name correctly. But to be fair, or to be perfectly honest, sorry, Father Lamont almost seems kind of like Father Merrin, or if anything, a mix between Damien and Father Merrin. I could be wrong on that. At least that's my take on the character. Somebody who is religious, but at the same time acknowledges the aspects or the abilities of technology. And there is a really weird line from him, or at least conversation about, the possibility of technology leading people to the devil, which I thought was really interesting, but at the same time kind of weird. Now, going on to Regan, the Regan character, this is a character who, again, has spent the last couple of years trying to recover from their experience of possession. And to a degree, I mean, at least just going over the movie, she is not as distraught as she probably would have been if this was like a real person who just went through possession. It's weird. Or if anything, like, and they out of the blue, they start kind of pulling this whole thing with her, with where she's psychic or has some kind of like ability, which is really bizarre to go with this character. I guess to an extent, a possession causes you to have a higher plane of existence, or gives you psychic powers. I don't know. It was just way out of the blue, like to the point where you have a character who can't talk, and she can talk to them somehow. It's just weird. Also, the thing that I will not forgive her for is the fact that she, just up and tells a kid that she was possessed by a demon, which honestly would scare the living shit out of a child. But again, it's so fucking weird. So I guess when it comes down to it, Father Lambert is something we've already, to an extent, a mix between Damien and Merrin, and Regan is meh, and her character's weird, to say the least. So in terms of effects, especially with it being a film from the 1970s, there's not much I can really talk about. I mean, again, because around those times, a lot of it's practical. I will say that there's one thing, like when it comes down to scene wise, when it comes to effect, was interesting to say the least. Is there's this one particular scene where you have Linda Blair on a rooftop, and apparently when it comes down to this particular scene, she was literally like on the edge of a building for this for them to record this. And I will say that not knowing that, like, the first time around, it really adds to, like, whether or not that's how they did this shot. But yeah, no, they actually, with this particular scene that they have, she was literally standing near the edge of a building to shoot this scene where she's in a trance, which looks really mesmerizing. Some of the makeup work that they did, especially like going back to the whole possession thing, was really cool. Some costumes were interesting. Like, we had a scene with one particular actor, James Earl Jones, playing as this character named Kokumo, and this tribal getup that he wears for one particular, I guess, nightmare scene is actually really, really creative. And all in all, I will say that its effects to an extent help the film, but not much. I mean, like I said, it's a film in the 70s. Most of it's going to be practical, and all in all, it is done to an extent okay. I will say that. So, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Music, I was not a fan of for this particular film. And compared to the first film, where, I mean, when it comes to music, a lot of it, I mean, for the most part, music is absent. There's a lot of quiet moments where music is not even needed. This film, especially when they use music, to an extent, a lot of it seems out of place, or if anything, really bombastic. And it just really does not help the tone for certain moments of the film. Like I said, it just, when it comes down to it, it was like, or at least whoever did the score for this particular movie, it's just so out of place. Or if anything, it just seems out of touch to a certain degree. I don't know. It's just, for concept wise, it just was way out there. And I will say it's probably one of the worst aspects of the film itself. Okay, so this is gonna be interesting. So, story itself is hit and miss, if anything, more so miss than hit. By the end of it, I kind of felt like everything that was done for the movie, or the first movie, was all for naught. Characters, most of them I didn't find intriguing, and again, when it comes down to our main characters, Linda Blair's Reagan, as well as our Father Lamont, just seemed out of place, or at least non-charistic, or at least for, Reagan. Whereas for Father Lamont, he's, a mix-up between Damien and Father Marin. Going into effects, again, I will say is probably my strongest aspect of it, though, again, it's the 70s, it's going to be more practical effect, which I'm not completely shitting on, but at the same time, it's, again, it's all practical, which is, to an extent, better than, just using CGI, which they, to a large degree, couldn't have access to for the most part. As well as going further into music, I hated it. I hated the music so much in this. So, final thoughts. Unfortunately, this is probably my least favorite sequel to the Exorcist films. So, and I hate to do this, but honestly, when it comes to my opinion, there's a lot of bad to this film. So, with that being said, The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, for my personal opinion and rating for my review, will receive a 3 out of 10. It is not good. There's a lot of things wrong, and there's a lot of things that could have been done a lot better. In fact, if anything, if I could give, an extra extent to my final thoughts, what would have been better for this particular film is, again, if they didn't kind of continue the story of Reagan. If anything, do something different. Find another individual that is being possessed. In fact, that is something that they kind of do for the really weird Exorcist TV series, to a certain degree. Whereas, they do focus on 2 individuals for season 1, but then they focus on 2 individuals for season 2. Which, I may do a review on that, because it's odd. It's an odd show. So, with that being said, 3 out of 10 for me. It's not great, and I feel sorry that I have to give it this rating. And with that, that is my review for The Exorcist, or Exorcist 2, The Heretic. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, take care, and I will see you guys in the next video.